Alrighty, people. What we have done so far today, and I meant to actually get you guys involved in this earlier, but because the last test we did, this was running, surging and dropping off and going up and down. It was like it had bad fuel, and this fuel is about 3 months old. So what I did, I took this guy here and I siphoned all the fuel out into some other gallon jugs that I have. And then I bought new fuel today, about 3 gallons of new fuel, about this one, and this one. In the Philippines, when you get gas in these jugs, have them put a little plastic bag in between your cap and the jug, or these, if they fall down, they'll leak. All your jugs will leak, okay? So yeah, put a little, and the gas stations have those. So it's kind of cool here because they know that your jugs are going to leak. Now, they may not give them to you, but you may have to ask, and they'll go grab some bags and put in there. Also, trash bags will work. Any kind of a plastic thin bag will work to seal this so that it doesn't leak it should it fall. Okay, little tip there. So anyway, the other thing we did, because the fuel went bad, I went and ordered some Stabil. This is American. This is 360 Marine. They've got the fuel stabilizer, but it's yellow, and it's not the Marine type. So if you're going to use it for your boat, get the Marine. Now, other big thing here, this thing treats 80 gallons, okay? I paid 900, almost 1,000 pesos, almost $20 for this. But when you consider per gallon, it does 80 gallons, so your price per gallon is 25 cents. I don't know, something like that. It doesn't cost much. So per gallon, it's not that much. And it's good for a year or two. So that's key. The other thing that we do, we've got these little bottles we had. This is Predator energy drink here. And I've measured it and marked it. You probably can't see the little scratch marks on the side, but I marked off 1 liter lines for a 50-to-1 ratio. That engine runs 100-to-1. That engine runs 50-to-1. So I've got enough in here to treat 3 gallons of gas. Well, I put 3 gallons of gas in there, so I just poured one of these whole things into there. And then I put 1/3 of an ounce, because that's 3 gallons, and an ounce is good for 10 gallons. So I put 1/3 of an ounce of this in there. And then I siphoned all my gas. I have this little siphon hose here that works good. And I just set my gas supply can up on top of the steps here, and then I put whatever, either this or this, depending on which way I'm going from here, taking the old gas out, putting it here, or the new gas in, putting it there. I just siphon from higher down to lower, of course. And so we've done all that. I have 3 gallons of brand new good gas. The other thing that we're doing here is, I don't know if you saw the last episode, but when we're driving and we hit some waves, or when we're really cranking the speed and the front goes up real high and the back digs down, we start getting water splashing between our splash guard and the side of the boat, and it comes up here and it hits that cross beam. When it hits that cross beam, if you look here, there's a hole, there's a gap here. You see that gap? And the water floods in here. And that's why we got water in here. I thought it was coming over the side or something, but it's not. It floods back here, hits that, and pushes it through this hole. So I'm taking my little flooring foam, or cushion foam, whatever you want to call this stuff. It's about a 1/4 inch, it's 3/16 thick. That's not a 1/4. And if it's a big enough gap, I fold it like this. And then I take a putty knife and I put it between here and shove it into that hole. Well, this one's not that wide, so I can't really put that in there. So I'm going to put this one in single and try to jam it in there. But it's got to be in tight, because the pressure is going to hit that and try to knock it out. But if it knocks it out, it'll knock it in the boat, and we can pick it up and put it back in later. So we got that gap. Everywhere the cross beams are, there's a gap. You can see there, here, at the front. There's one gap. It's in the center portion. The fronts are sealed. So we already put one on that side. We put one in the front there, jammed it in. I'm putting this one in now. We've got to take the raincoat off of here, roll it up so we can get to that front one, and then same song on that one. We got to take the front off there and so we could shove it in there. So anyway, that's what we're doing now. And we just cut it to size. These scissors here, we use them to cut this stuff. And again, I got a big roll of this stuff. Pretty cheap. You can buy it downtown at a place called Golden Sun or Gold Sun, Sun Gold, something like that. And then there's other places too that sell this in Cebu City area. It's a common thing. They use this on the island hopping boats for the decking and stuff. It's not slip, so that's what I got to put down here. And also it keeps, if I put a chair in here, it keeps it from scratching the paint on the bottom of the hull, on the inside of the hull, scratches and stuff, and traction too. So anyway, we were gonna run this at speed test and stuff, but we got sidetracked with a million things and didn't get out here until later. We got a fisherman out there, see? He's got a spinning rod, got a little backpack, and I think he's got a little bag he's got tied to him, so it tosses fish in there. So maybe you can catch fish just walking out here casting. Okay, so you got the, okay, so here we go. We're going to use this. You know, I said that we use a putty knife. Well, that was the plan, but this is our scraper to literally scrape the barnacles off the bottom of the boat underneath there, because this is plastic and it doesn't harm, it won't damage the paint. So we use either plastic or bamboo. However, this is thin and it's smooth, and I think we can put it in with that fold and shove that rubber into where it goes, and it'll go good. So anyway, I'll show you some other things too about gas, about how you can tell good gas and bad gas. Visually, this is a technique that probably not foolproof, but at least it is helpful, what I'm going to tell you. Okay, so we got, these are both old gas, 3-month-old gas right here. This gallon jug and this gallon jug. And you can see in the sunlight, the sun's over there, so it's lighting up these, but you can see the color of that. That's a greenish color, a kind of a darkish green. And look at that one. That one's got like a brownish color, like a weird brownish tint to it. The brownish tint is bad. The green is what it looks like when you buy it at the pump. It's got a nice sea green color to it, but when it starts getting that brown, that's funky, and it'll be gummy and that kind of thing. So don't put that in your boat. And now that we've got the stay bill, we should be better off. And I've noticed too, or what I appear to have noticed, is that the 15 horsepower, the older 15 horsepower, isn't as picky about the gas. So it's running off a 3-month-old gas, and it seems to run just fine. This tank here is full of 3-month-old gas. And this is 3-month-old gas. And under there is the gas we took out of the 30 horsepower gas tank, and it's 3-month-old gas mixed with 2-stroke oil. Okay, so we're gonna seed every time we put 2 gallons in here. We're going to put about a half of a liter of that in there and try to burn that gas, because you know, this is, we're talking, I don't know, 3,000-4,000 pesos in gasoline. So we're going to try to dilute, but only on this engine, because this engine seems to, honey, this one. And so yeah, honey, try it here first. And did it, you're turning it, that's the wrong way, turn it around. Now get it in. Okay, so she's going to try to jam that in there as best as we can. Oh yeah, yeah, honey, it's going good. Okay, see how that's going to fill that gap and keep the water out, because we got about, after just running around out here, basically about halfway to that ship out there, if you can see that ship, and about halfway to the point there and back, just running our tests, fast, slow, trying to see if we get up on plane, doing all kinds of things, you know, just test run, you know, sea trials. We got about 1 inch of water inside of this hole and that hole and that hole. All 3 holes had about 1 inch in here, and it was all coming through these, we think, or 90%, let's say. So if we had 90% less in here because we plugged these, then that's just normal. I mean, every boat has water in it, and when you get in, you're dripping off your pants and your shoes and that kind of stuff. So there's water coming in different avenues. So anyway, that's all we're going to talk about for now. I'm going to go and stuff these things in the places where they go and hopefully seal off all of these corners. Honey, we may have to push it in from here, from this side, because we can get to it. You can get up on there. She gets up on these splash guards because I don't worry about her getting on there. I stand on them and walk on them, and they seem to be fine. But I'm 200 pounds. You add her on here, that's 300 pounds, and I don't know how much weight that's really built for. But once we get the trampoline on there, it's going to be on top, and so that'll contain a lot of our weight. That'll load distribution about half of our weight onto the trampoline, and half on here. It should be touched down.
That looks good now.
That looks real good. Yeah. Okay, let's do. Is that one done? Okay, so see if you can shove it and make it real tight, because it's kind of loose. And where the water can come in up here. However, it slides back here and hits that cross beam, and that's like a dam. Not really a dam, because you can see you can go under here. That's where it's supposed to flush through, is underneath there and flush out, and it does, but it hits that and builds up. So anyway, I'm putting this fuel back in here. This one I'm going to give to the boat guys here because they use it for starting fires or whatever. They could try it in their boat. This is a 4-stroke Soooo Rado engine. The other thing I've noticed that I'll tell you about is these fuel hoses. One side of this fuel hose is supposed to be short and one's supposed to be long. And the short side is supposed to go to your tank. Well, this one here is about equal length, so it's about halfway between, but that's not the way I've been seeing on YouTube. Everybody says put the short hose to your tank. So I'm going to modify all of my hoses, because all of them, even the Yamaha brand new one, has the long end towards the tank. See the arrow? The arrow points towards the engine right there. So that's what is weird on all of my hoses, or at least this one and the new one. I got one more hose, and then I repaired one more hose with some stainless steel clamps on it, so that it wouldn't, because the ones that were on it weren't stainless. When you buy clamps, those little hose clamps with the screw thing, the band might be stainless, but the screw part isn't, so that'll rust and corrode and just break. So be careful when you buy this stuff. Get a magnet and touch it to every part. Any part the magnet sticks to ain't stainless, or isn't a good enough grade to have in a marine environment. Okay, so if it doesn't stick to it, you're all stainless. If some of it does stick to it, that is not stainless, and it's just steel, and it's going to rust, or cheap grade stainless. I don't know. But anyway, so I got to give this gallon to Celso, and we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have to rebuild these guys. I got to take them apart. What you do, I'm going to have to cut one of the hoses, one side, make it shorter, about 2 feet maybe, because what happens is I've got my bulb up here in the water and everything, and I'd rather it be down here in a dry spot. Just, I don't know. That's theoretically where it's supposed to go, from what every YouTube channel says that rebuilds these hoses. You see this one here? This is the Yamaha, brand new, and it's got the long side going to the tank. Wrong. At least I think it's wrong. And I'm having those fuel issues with it also. So the other thing that I have that's kind of handy, these are kind of like gasoline fuel lessons learned, is get a Coke bottle, a 1.5 or 1 liter Coke bottle, cut it in half like this. See, that's kind of big, and that is a perfect funnel, because if you're at sea and the waves are knocking you around, you're not going to pour gas in that little hole, and siphoning, everything's going to be trying to fall. So you may have to resort to putting this inside your gas tank and pouring this in here, and you got the big thing. And also, if it tries to back up, you can backfill this, which you don't want to do because it'll come out the nozzle here between where it goes on in there. It'll start backflowing out there. So pour slow. But this big one gives you a little bit of a slop factor there. And let me help my wife with this stuff, and we will be back with more. Keeping the water out and keeping the water out of the gasoline, preserving your gasoline. We're also using the Yamaha lube, two-stroke oil on breaking in the 30 horsepower because it's the best grade. The other is Shell brand, and Shell gas is great. It's one of the top of the line gases. We're using a two-stroke Shell oil for the other engine because it doesn't seem to care. So anyway, I had to take these back, and there's another one in that bag there. So I got 3 of these hoses I need to reorient the short end to the tank. Close to the bulb. So Paradise out for now. Tomorrow we're going to get here and we'll be all set up. We already got our fuel set up. We'll have all of our fuel lines set up the proper way, and we'll be able to just connect them up, fire up the engines, and go run our speed test and stuff, and also test our water blockers. We'll call them. Paradise out. You want to see the boat? Here we go. Paradise out. Wave. Alrighty, boys and girls, we're in fuel camp now. How do we make sure our boat motor and this motor's been setting here? Well, we haven't really checked this one's fuel or anything for a while. It's 3-month-old fuel, but this is the fuel filter here, but I just took off the nuts that hold it and the 2 fuel lines that go in and out. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's funky. You see that in the bottom? Can you see that little brown line of stuff floating around there? There it is. Can you see it? See, the top part's kind of a greenish brown, and that's not bad. But the bottom part, see that gunky looking stuff? I don't know if you can see it very well, but that is what you don't want. And if you have that, you need to put a new fuel filter on, and then take this one home or wherever you are, and this bottom unscrews. See, there's a nut there. You can unscrew this thing and rinse that out and use it again. So that's the beauty of this style. You can reuse it. Okay. Okay, honey, put this into the into that plastic bag right there, that big bag. Yeah, drop it in there. Okay, folks, so now we got the new one. Voila, look at that. And there's an in and an out on these too, so you want to be sure your in line goes to your in. There's arrows on the top of this. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, see there's arrows. See there's a little arrow here. I don't know if you can see it, but it says in, and this one here is pointing out. Okay? So this is your fuel line coming in, and it connects to this fuel hose here, where my finger is, and this one's the one going to the carburetor. So you just want to make sure you get your in line to your in line and your out line to your out line. Okay? So I'm going to take this nut off here. Oh, honey, we need to put one of those nuts on that fuel filter, and then I'm going to over my nuts. I put 2 on here, and I lock them against each other just so this thing don't fall down. Not that anything would happen other than it would fall down, but yeah, you just simply put this down here, wiggle it, get it up to where it goes. Oh, and this mount here is square, and your top of your fuel filter is square. So whichever direction it's square in, you can connect it up. Well, my hoses are made so that the square has to go here, because that's where they reach. So anyway, hand me the nut. Put the nut on here. Put this back on here, and then after this, I'm going to just connect the hoses. Then what you'll see is when we pump the fuel from the gas tank, okay, Now, say you have not started your boat in a while, your fuel filter looks like that, and you connect your gas line has been connected or hasn't been connected. But guess what's inside your fuel line? The same funky fuel. So what you can do to play it safe, you can disconnect your inline here and have a little bottle and squeeze your hose. No, I'm not telling. She started to do that. I'm telling you on the subscribers and the viewers. Squeeze your hose, and that'll pump fuel out of here and into your bottle like a drinking plastic water bottle, and wait for it to get green and clean. If it's green and clean, then you can connect this up. Well, I've got a brand new fuel line here. This is brand new fuel line, I believe. I mean, I drained the fuel out of this line. I'm almost 100% sure. So I'm going to hook it back up. But what you'll be able to tell if your fuel is indeed clean coming out of your hose is this will be brown. So if you're pumping bad fuel in, this will be brown fuel, not green and clean. Okay? So beware of that. So I need to tighten this down. Let me get my wrench. My other engine, I did not change the fuel filter first. I left it on there, and the fuel filter in that thing was brown and nasty. Okay? So, and that's why it's running a little bit rough, and that I'm running all the old fuel out. I got brand new fuel lines, or cleaned and remodified fuel lines, and new fuel in that tank with Stable, the fuel stabilizer, marine. It's Stable 360 marine. It's blue. It's not the brown or the yellowish Stable. That's for cars. You want the marine for your in this environment with all the moisture, humidity, and all the funkiness that goes on out here in the ocean. Okay, so I got that pretty well locked down. I'm going to put these hoses on, slip them up here as far as I can. Yeah, that's up to the top. And we got our little spring hose clamps here. I'm going to slide this one on now. And then you need a pair of needle nose pliers probably, or some kind of pliers to slide your little hose clampy things on. And maybe you should put these hoses on before you do this. But I only have one hand, so that's why I bolted this on, because the other hand's holding the camera. So I'm going to try to get my pliers, and be careful, your pliers have teeth, and those teeth will cut up the rubber, so you're really not trying to cut your rubber, you're just trying to wiggle this. I don't like that. Well, that ain't working. Don't do that. But if your fuel line was wet with fuel, it would slip on easier than it is slipping on now. This other one slipped on after I just pushed it a few times. So, and try to get your fuel line straight too as it goes on. We're struggling here. But anyway, we got to get it on there. Got to get up there. Got to get on, folks. I'm not putting this other spring clamp on thing on this one yet because it'll stick your hand. It's got, little wire thing. So I'm going to put the camera down, I'm going to wiggle, and this, because it's going to take two hands to get this on. And then we'll be back, and I'll show you as we pump the fuel in here. Well, hopefully it'll come in nice and fresh and green. Okay? So Paradise out. And that one, let me show you this one just real quick. I'm gonna shut this engine off. Hopefully the wind noise is not too bad. See here? The same thing. You got the funky jump there. Well, the funky jump's not going through the filter, which is good, but it's in here. So I'm gonna replace this one too. I'm gonna shut this off and replace that too. But I'm just letting it run to get whatever funky. Let it run through there. I may shut it off now, so we don't run anything through there. There's your safety kill right there with your strap that goes on your wrist. So if you're on the boat, the engine stops and the boat don't take off. I don't know if you can hear me, but it's got the the same brown junk. It's just a bunch of brown funky stuff in there. It should be all green. This was all brown before. Brown is bad. Green is clean. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to finish putting this hose on here. And we'll fire up, get my leg over this anchor rope. There we go. And we'll be back with more. Sliding the hose on, then I'll put the clamps on, and then we'll be back and you'll see me pump this gas, and it should come in green and clean. Paradise. All right, folks. Hopefully the wind noise again is not too bad. I think there's a micro on the back of this and a micro on the front of this, so I gotta try to keep the wind out. Okay, so now we got the hoses back on. We got it tightened down, double nut. You can put one nut, but I put two. This nut's tightened against that one. Not this nut's tightened super tight against this one because I don't want to crack this fuel filter. And again, we got the fuel coming in line from here. This is where you connect the fuel from the tank to here. And this hose goes here and to the in arrow, and this goes to the out arrow. That way. Okay, and go ahead and pump the gas. We're going to pump the gas, and you're going to watch it go in. She's going to do the pump. See it going in. See, that's how that's green. And again, this gas isn't super fresh here. But I did put some stable in here. But this is what happens when you pump that. It pumps into your fuel filter. Keep going because we got air bubbles. Is it getting hard? Okay, get it. Do it again. Here. Okay, well there's a little bit of air bubbles, but you can see how it's pretty much green and clean. Okay, there ain't no funky brown globs of stuff, and that's gummy gasoline. It's thick and like greasy like. Okay, I'm going to change this one here now. It's the same song, second verse, so you don't need to watch that. And I'm going to do that right now. So they both have clean fuel filters. This is our speed test, by the way. So we want these things running good. I wanted to take the spark plugs out of here and just look at them because I've never seen the spark plugs after it runs. See if it's running rich or lean or just right. If it's rich, the spark plugs will be black. If it's lean, the spark plugs will be white. And if it's just right, the spark plugs will be tan, kind of like my wife's skin, nice and tan. Fan of the tan. So you want tan on your spark plugs. So anyway, I'm gonna do that, and we'll be back, and we'll fire these babies up and see how they run. Hopefully everything's good. Paradise. Oh, also, if you're wondering where your water pump is, it's here. And it pumps water out. This is coming out and back into the ocean. There's a little tiny hole right there, and you can barely see it. It's kind of hidden, but you want to have a little piece of stainless steel wire that you can run up in there, especially on the older engines like this, where there's some corrosion inside. See all this white corrosion and stuff? Yeah, you want to start your engine. The first thing you do is look for that water spraying out there, and if it's not, run your little wire in here, back and forth. That'll clean all the corrosion that's passing out of the head and into the tube here to squirt back out. Paradise. Out. Anybody, I'm guessing it's moisture, which of course we don't want in here, but beware, watch that. That may be a telltale sign that your fuel has a lot of water in it, so just a note. So I'm going to put the hoses on here, then we're going to pump this thing full again and fire it up, let it warm up, see how it runs on a clean filter and fresh fuel. Okay, and also if you want to drain your bowl on your carburetor, now the one thing that I do whenever I am through driving the boat, I take and pull the fuel line off of here, and I run the engine until it dies, and that gets all the gas, pretty much as much as you can get out with by doing that out of here. Okay, so that is a additional tip that you can use to keep your carburetor from leaving the funky fuel inside of here. On the other side of here, there's a screw that goes in like right here, and you can unscrew that. And be careful, don't drop it, because when it drops, who knows where it goes, down in here somewhere, and it may be a bear to find or it may be lost. So unscrew that, and you can drain your fuel bulb 100% out of there. It's on the opposite side of here. Opposite side. I'm on the left side of the engine, with the engine facing that way. So on the other side of the 30 horsepower, the 15 horsepower is down in the front, and it's low, and it's almost impossible to put your hand under it to catch it so it doesn't fall and lose it. So that's more dangerous to do it on. But this one, because it's I don't know, there's a 2-cylinder there. They just got the carburetor higher up on this one. So anyway, another little fuel tip. So I'm gonna put these back on. We're gonna fire this one up, fire that one up, and see how they run. And then we're gonna do a speed test if everything works out good. And again, I haven't checked these spark plugs, so I don't know if they're good or not. This is a brand new engine, so they should be good. But people, I'm getting too much wind noise here. People adjust the richness of here, and they don't know to look the color at spark plugs, and that's your answer as to whether it's rich or lean or just right. They just tweak it and they think it sounds good and they stop. So beware. Check your plugs. Paradise. Oh man, we got a lot of wind noise here. Paradise out. Okay, people. We got this fuel filter on, and as you see here, it's empty. It's just white. You can't see no fuel in there. And we got the little springy hose clamp things on. We also turn these to the inside, because if they stick out, they'll get snagged when you're putting the cover on and off. So get these, because these things are little sharp points and they'll grab onto anything. So be sure that you dress all of your clamps and things so that it doesn't interfere with anything. Okay, so we're going to pump this one in now. Let's watch and see what color the fuel is. Go ahead and pump it. See it coming in. Coming in. What color? Oh, that's beautiful green. That is just gorgeous and green. Look at that. Like an aquamarine. Did you pump it till it's hard? Okay. And yeah. Okay, do it again. Okay, you can see there's air bubbles in here. I guess they'll work their way out at some point in time. But yeah, that's gorgeous green. That's prettier than that green. But that green, that fuel is 3 months old. This fuel is brand new, and I put stable in this one when it was brand new. Okay, I put stable in that just now. So, but that one seems to run better on crappy gas than this one. This new 30 horsepower is really particular. So, if you got the newer engines, I mean, just keep your stay on top of your fuel. The other thing you can do too, you notice there's a little bit of corrosion here. This is a brand new engine, and on the top of this little aluminum, this ain't, I don't know if this is aluminum or pot metal flywheel cover, get some grease, get some like wheel bearing grease, and rub a thin coat on everything, all your bolt heads. Rub a thin coat of wheel bearing grease on all your little exposed metal things here, and that'll help keep your engine clean. And even your carb, whatever you can get on, your fuel pump housing cover, your screws, and all that stuff. Just that's just a little maintenance tip on your little latch here. See this little latch? It's like a bronze latch, but still, look at that corrosion. Just 2 months being out here. So anyway, another tip. So beautiful green and clean, gorgeous. That one's greenish brown, but more green than brown, but still. We'll see. We'll compare how they run. And again, this is a 30-plus year old, 15 horsepower Yamaha Enduro. This is a brand new Yamaha Enduro. This is made in Japan. Yeah, look at that. Look at that, folks. That's a real Japanese. They make Yamahas in Japan France and Brazil. Okay, so if you ever want to know where they're not made in China that I've ever seen, but I've seen and heard and read France, Brazil, and Japan. That's a Japanese one right here. That's probably that one might be a French one, or my 8 horsepower might be a French one. One of them says made in France, my 8 or my 15. So yeah, that says made in Japan. So it must be my 8 horsepower is made in France. So anyway, we're gonna get going. We got a lot of wind blowing in, but it's a beautiful day, cool, comfortable. There's ugly rain clouds back there. Hopefully we won't have to deal with any of that. So we're gonna fire these babies up and we'll see how they go. Paradise. All right, fellow Yamahars. I got some news here. I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is this 35-year-old Yamaha, and it looks newer because I painted the top and put the new Yamaha decal on there and stuff. I did that myself. So I fixed that one up. But anyway, that one there starts second pull and just runs. The only thing you ever have to do is get a little stainless steel wire. Looks like I've got a little piece of TIG welding wire. And I have to unclog the water pee-hole in the back because there's corrosion inside of this because it's 35 years old. So it's putting out that little white, crappy junk corrosion from inside the engine after, 35 years. Starts, runs, idles, does everything that should do. Rev it up, it runs smooth. This brand new Yamaha. Now, the difference in this one and that one is that one, I changed the fuel filter on and purged all the fuel out before I started it. This one, I left the brown funky fuel in here and I pumped the fresh fuel on top of it, started it, and tried to run the old funky, I don't know if you can hear me, the wind is really bad. Tried to get the old funky fuel out, running it through there, though that was a mistake. So I may have gummed the carburetor up on this. So I've got to find a warranty place and see, there's a Porter's Marina over here, and I'll see if they can do the carburetor on this. I can do it. I rebuilt that one, and when I rebuild them, they work. When everybody else rebuild them, they sort of kind of work okay, but when I rebuild that one and my Soooo, purr like a kitten. But I've got the tools. I have there's a little reaming kit that's got small little twisted spiraled wires that you run through all your jets and scrub them out and shoot carburetor cleaner in there. I've got like 5 cans of that carburetor cleaner, so I just blast. I mean, I don't spare anything, and I thoroughly do the whole job, and that's key. Be a perfectionist, folks. So I got to either pull this carburetor off and rebuild it myself, or take it to the warranty folks and have them do it. But technically, I put the bad gas in, so I don't know how that affects warranty, me tinkering with it or not. The other thing I need to do is angle that motor mount a little bit more. I need to shave a little, about another ½ inch off the bottom of that, so it's angled more like that. Not so much, it's angled like that, but that engine there is kind of kicked back when you mount it, and the well tail or the hydrofoil is kind of aiming it down, which we're trying to get the back end up. So we want that kicked way forward like that, lifting that back, because this back end goes way down when you give it gas, and we're trying to get it up on plane somehow. We'll see. But that was kind of today's test too. But the wind, having to change out the fuel filters, running, and that's running on the old crappy gas. That's running on 3-month-old gas there. That 35-year-old Yamaha is running on the, that gas is green, is yellowish, because the fuel, the oil we use there is Shell, the 2-stroke, and that's yellow oil. Here the fuel is bluer and more green because this is Yamalube. We're using the Yamalube on the Yamaha because it's brand new, and that just makes sure the warranty is, we're not doing anything odd with that. That may be why this one's more blue-green and that one's more of a off green. So anyway, that's it, folks. Very windy. very windy, a little bit rough. We're not going to do any more today. We've kind of burned up our day just fiddling with engines and getting them to run, or trying to get them to run. So we will be back with more of my Paradise on Battalion Island. Hopefully the wind noise isn't doing anything, but you can see it's just whipping my arm here, and that's kind of there. It's just whipping. So Paradise Sunset, Paradise